Welcome to Transforming the Trades, the podcast where we empower you to take charge and innovate your business. Whether you're a plumber, electrician, or any other trade professional, this show is designed to give you the tools and strategies you need to succeed. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to take your business to the next level with Transforming the Trades. Hey, Richard. Thanks for joining Transforming the Trades today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Lynn. Thanks for having me. I'm Richard Hart out of Seattle, Washington. We do plumbing and electrical on our way to HVAC and sewer. Been in business about 10 years now, and we're growing fast and trying to turn the market to a better place.
So, hey, Richard, how many service trucks do you all have there at Hart?
Yeah, we're at about 62 trucks right this second.
Where were you 5 years ago?
Oh, man, we were about 16 trucks.
Okay. So what that kind of tells me, in the last 5 years, you have grown 400% approximately.
Easily, yeah.
So, one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show is because you're doing something at Hart that is certainly unique, and it's also a big investment for your company, but I really think it shines a light on your leadership in this industry and innovating this industry. So I'd like for you to talk to us today about the Harts Academy and tell us about what made you make the decision to do this. And I'd love to hear about what you see as an impact today and what you're considering the impact to be in 2 years or 5 years. So I want to learn more about that, and I know our audience does as well. So I'll let you take it over and lead with that discussion.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been an exciting adventure. About 2 years ago now, we decided that, we were never, ever going to be able to hire enough people to grow the demand that we actually were producing, right? So we live in a market, we've got about 4 million people population-wise, so there's a lot of demand, and it's all old. Our cities from the early 1900s. And the reality is the guys that are always fit the best within the company and seem to have the most open minds towards the innovative kind of work that we do are the ones that we train from the ground up, right? We train them to be open-minded and come in with different solutions than just the way we've always done it, I guess is the best way I could say that. And so we put our first class through, and we had a plan. I wouldn't say we knew everything that we were doing, but we had to jump in feet first somehow, some way at some point, right? So we decided we're just going to do it. And we're going to start out with a class of 10. So we started out with our first class of 10, and that was just 2 years ago, because they're just taking their license tests now and getting into their own trucks, which is pretty awesome. We do have stricter licensing here in Washington, so it makes it a little more drug out than I would like it to be, but it's what it is. And so we've worked hand in hand with the PHCC, Nexstar, a couple different organizations to help ourselves get good curriculum and also how we should be leading these classes, the difference between physical workmanship and classwork on code and best practices, safety, all the important things that you need to know, right? So we had a 12-week class the first year. And so for the first 12 weeks, all they did was sit in a classroom, go through code books, learn fittings. We built a 900 square foot platform in our warehouse that has 2 bathrooms, kitchen, laundry, a residential footprint. And so they would spend half their day out there tearing stuff apart, putting it back together, repiping it, fixing faucets, fixing shower valves, rebuilding toilets, all the things a service plumber does, right? And then they would spend the other half day in the office. And it was important because they can only sit there so darn long before they start losing their mind, right?
That's kind of the reason you do that, right? It's like, this isn't where you want to be. You want to be out doing what you really should be doing, right?
Yeah, and they're all trying to find that, but that's definitely the avatar plumber for sure, or serviceman, I should say. So we got through the first class. We lost 2 of them, so we ended up with 8, which was pretty good retention, I thought, for our first round. And so these guys went out after 12 weeks into the field with install. So there's 2 guys with 1 licensed plumber, which is our ratio here in Washington, and they just plumbed. They did repipes, they did water waste. You name it, they did it when it came to the plumbing system replacements, anything that's larger than a half a day job, basically, right? That way they're really getting in there. They're not just turning and burning on little service calls or whatnot. They're really learning the system and how to, deal with all the materials and whatnot. And so after a year of that with the first class, we were able to put them into the field, have them run safety inspections for our customers, basically. So they got really good with the customer interaction. They were really confident at that point. And if anybody knows what it's like to be an apprentice, about that 1 year mark is where all of us, including myself, when I was that new in the industry, start to go crazy. We think we're worth more, we want more, we expect more, and it's a pivotal time on if we're going to stay where we're at or we're going to go somewhere else that's going to let us do more, right? So we maneuvered that really well, and I would recommend that for anybody who wants to go and try and do this at that year mark. Get them out.
Yeah.
That's where people start losing their minds, right? They're go-getters. They're hungry. Feed them. So at this point, we've gotten 3 classes through in 2 years. We had to slow down a little last year just because of our ratios. We were getting ahead of ourselves on too many apprentices to actual licensed plumbers. So we got that under control. Our first class went out 2 months ago, started running in their own vans. And let me just tell you, some of the first days that those guys were out there, their numbers were amazing. Their customer feedback, they're getting 5-star customer reviews on every single call they go to. They're selling memberships. It was pretty epic and awesome to see. Second class right now is starting to run the home care plans as we've got our third class in with the leads. And so we're creating that chain, right, of how to keep it going and get it going there. Now, one thing that we're really working on is troops of trades and trying to get people out of the military opportunities to come into the trades, and kids out of high school or those types of situations. So we're working on getting accredited through the state of Washington, which has really been a challenge. We've been working on this thing for 2 years and we're almost there. We're still going back and forth with the unions on our curriculum and trying to straighten that stuff out. It's not easy, but it's necessary, because if somebody doesn't step up and keep doing this, it can't just be us either. We need more people doing this, because at the end of the day, I don't know about nationwide, but I know in Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii, it's 56 years old is the average age of a tradesman. And it's a dying breed. And let me tell you, there's a reason we're a first world country. It's because we have plumbing, we have electrical, we have HVAC. And so it's been a pleasure to get to where we are. And I'm really excited about the future. Ideally, sometime throughout the next year, we get accredited. And instead of having to pay our academy people, we'll be able to get them funding and they'll make more money, right? Because we can't pay them more than minimum wage. The way we've set up the pay structure is we start them out a little bit above minimum wage. And then as you learn water lines, you get $1 raise. As you learn waste and vent, you get $1 raise, and so on and so forth. We get them to about $21 an hour. And so we do that and get that going until they can get out into the field and start making some more money. So
That's a little different than how you learned.
oh, it's way different. I got wrenches thrown at me.
I don't know of, I've been doing this a long time, and every trades guy we ever processed through the company that I was part of, you kind of threw them in the pool to see if they could swim. That was kind of how it worked, right?
Yep.
And of course, there was a bit more to it than that, but certainly there was a lot of that. And so your curriculum is all encompassing. It's not just about the technical skills, but it's also about the people skills and the emotional well-being of the person that you're dealing with. So are there any other academies that you're aware of in the country like this?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. Most of the ones that I'm aware of are or were Nexstar companies. And so you got Radiant down in Texas, you've got Eco out in Ohio, you've got Peterman, there's probably more than I could even name off.
But are they commercially available, or are they doing it just for their own company?
Right now, they're doing it for their own company.
Right, 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 right.
Of course, not all of them work out. So people do get an opportunity to start learning and get a road career path. But I don't know anybody that's quite trying to get it accredited to where, even if we're building it not just for ourselves, we're creating opportunity for people, right?
Correct.
I was that guy that, there was no way I was going to go to college. I learned business through the hard knocks of business, right? And luckily I'm pretty intuitive, so it worked out for me. But
Usually people that succeed in business, I'm going to just tell you, is they listen.
yeah.
You listen. So it's not that your way, it's like others have you need help, and you need help, and those that are willing to help will help you. It's the same thing you're doing in this space. You're doing the very same thing. You're offering an experience and an academy because you're willing to teach somebody else, including your own employees, on how to do this and do it professionally and do it so that the market, especially the market that we're going into, the next generation or so, will continue to trust this industry and continue to help us grow. So, I mean, I see that somewhat what you're doing. And you mentioned Nexstar. We could talk about several others, but you could actually speak to yourself as being almost kind of like the Nexstar model at a technical level.
Oh, 100%. And going back to the customer service thing you're talking about, like new construction or customer service, either way, it's all got to change, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
The old days, people are getting mad at each other on new construction sites and they're running into each other. They're not efficient. And then you end up with issues that are buried in walls. And that keeps us service plumbers busy, I guess, right? But you got to remember that these places aren't your home. They're their home. Whether it's new or old, it doesn't matter. You should treat it with more respect than you treat your own home with. And so we're intensive in customer service training, right? And we have a full process that we do in every single home. We never tell people what they have to do. We give them multiple options, make sure they get to make a choice, right? I don't go to the grocery store and buy the milk that I don't like because that's the only one they got, right? So same idea. You gotta be there for the people. You got to be able to deal with the different personalities and be okay with it. You don't know what's happening in people's lives. You just don't.
You know, you mentioned this first class. They've come now almost full scope. They're already coming into the field, right? So, and you talked about their metrics that they were outstanding. How do you measure them along the way? So, what kind of metrics do you measure them on to get them to the real deal? What are you measuring on? Are you doing average like productivity time, billing efficiency? What? So, talk to us about what your KPIs are for your trainees.
Yeah, absolutely. Their beginning KPIs are a lot different than their ending, right? So in the beginning, it's all about the skills that they can sign off on. They got written testing on code and what you can and can't do, all the standards, right? And so they can't even get into the field till they pass that. They've got to get through the paperwork part of it and really hound that knowledge in so that they're not slowing down the plumber on these jobs that we're trying to be profitable on. So once they go into the field, then it's all about efficiency, right? And so we're working off of an 80% billable hour efficiency, which is basically we work 10 hours a day with drive time, we bill 8 of them.
Yep.
And so that's the measurement for the first year for them and for their lead, right? So their lead's got to teach them well enough and quick enough to where he's getting his bonus off of his efficiency also, right? Which really steps them up, creates a great work ethic, makes sure that they're not getting recalls because the first time they got to go back somewhere for unbillable hour, that thing tanks. And so we've been really fortunate. We've got great leads out there in the field teaching these guys, and they're coming out just amazingly. Once they get out of that truck, when they're doing the membership checkups, they're getting KPIs on 5-star reviews and TGLs, tech generated leads, right? So if they do find something, one of the cool things that we found with those membership inspections is they're not allowed to sell anything. They're not allowed to do the work because they're not ready to do that yet. So they get to just be educators. So they get really good at helping customers understand what they got, what they're going through, what they're going to maybe have to deal with in the future. And then if the customer's interested, then they create a tech generated lead and get a licensed plumber, electrician, or whatnot out there. And so that works really well. And then when they go into their own van, it goes kind of back to your standard KPIs, right? Conversion rate, average ticket, number of options, things like that.
So so this is your third class. So what's the retention right now of the 3 classes that you've had? What's your retention rate?
So same, 80%. So
Wow.
we've lost 2 from every class. So
Well, but I think that's statistically correct, right? So
yeah,
80-20, right? Right? 80%. And so this is an awesome story, but I'll tell you what's really awesome is that you're thinking about the betterment of everybody. I mean, obviously Hart's the winner and someone's have to pay things forward. They just do. It's the way the world gets better. It's the way that We inspire each other and we create a better place for all of us. And you're absolutely right. The reason that we're the number one a number one economy in the world is because we have skills. And it starts with everything we can flush our toilets, right? And so that is awesome. And I want to know, who's your instructors? Who does the instructing?
Yeah. So it was tough in the beginning because it's not full time work, right? It's full time for 12 weeks, and then it's checkups every 2 to 3 weeks after that. They do a weekly one on one with them all once a week. But I was able to take one of my plumbers that had been with me a really long time with a great attitude, not the highest tickets, but he knows his stuff, right? And he's personable, but he's accountable. And we were able to take him and one of our managers that didn't have a whole lot of direct reports for the first class, and we put them together just because we didn't know what was going to happen and we had to have some redundancy there. And so they both ran the first class together. They did really good. Our manager ended up getting more direct reports throughout all this time. And so he didn't get to join the second and third class. His name's Chad Glazier. He stayed in. So he does our quality control for our installs. So if there's ever an issue, he's the first one out to make sure things are right. And he runs the academies. So he's able to still do all the one-on-ones each day and whatnot. And what I'd like to see that evolve into is a full-time school position, right? For us, we just started electrical this year, so we're not quite to the point where we're running an academy for that yet, but that's a thing. It's going to come because it isn't just plumbing; it's all the trades that need more tradespeople, right?
Absolutely. So, but you're thinking though that Hearts will be a commercially available program accredited in the state of Washington. Is that sometime in 2024?
That's my goal, and it seems highly possible. Right now, we're going back and forth with the unions. We've got an education lawyer with us that's helping us, battle back and forth the curriculum because the only people in our state that do this right now is two colleges and the unions, and the unions love to hold on to it. So we're gonna get to a place where we're probably doing pretty much the same thing they are, which I'm okay with. They teach good plumbers, they teach good electricians,
They do.
and we just need more of them. And I think they know that.
So how does this work in another state? If or and I mean, obviously in the state, you've got a 12-week program initially. That seems like that's going to be mandatory. Whoever does this, they're going to have to be in person 12 weeks and heads down, learn the system, etc. And it now let's transport that to I'm now in, I don't know, Milwaukee. And so I want to send my text to your academy. How does that work for somebody like that, an operator that's in another state? How does that work?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one, right? Because it's built right now around the state requirements. However, I don't see any reason why they couldn't do the 12 weeks and then either A, go back home and get out in the field with base knowledge. Most guys just hire somebody and throw them out there, right? They don't know anything for 6 months to a year because it's so much coming at them sporadically and not all the time that they don't retain it, right?
Right.
So as a preparatory deal, I would do it if it wasn't us doing it. Let's just say,
Yeah, I was going to say the fundamentals are the fundamentals. It doesn't matter what state you're in, it's the fundamentals. And so you're probably looking at that fundamental as being the curriculum for any state, any company, quite frankly. Would you as well consult with another business to have you written the SOP on how this is gonna work, and would you go in, consult, hold hands, cry with them, laugh with them, all that stuff to do this as well?
absolutely. And we do. Me and Dan, my business partner that helped create this, also have talked to many people. We continue to. At the end of the day, you got to do the work. But let me tell you where I failed and what has worked, right, for us. And we're still going to bump our heads. I have a somewhat of a standard operating procedure, but it's being hashed out still in this process of getting accredited. So I have the original one that we did just for ourselves that works great, and then we're going to have a real stricter one here coming up soon. And I think when this thing gets approved, what it's looking like right now is we've got the original 12 weeks, and then each year for the first 3 years, we're going to have to bring them back out of the field for 3 to 4 weeks.
That makes sense.
And we haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
So we'll have these little bumps in between what we're doing right now, which is fine. They need the knowledge. We want these people to be amazing and awesome at what they do and do great work for people, and they've got to learn it. So I'm excited.
So let me tell you what I love about this is that you exude servitude. And that is so awesome. And so we're lucky to have leaders like you in the industry that they're not selfish, you're not greedy. You're looking at everybody's betterment, and I want you to come back and tell us how you're doing. And I'd love to have you get with me and help me get the word out when you're ready to do this, because this is great news. And so all the listeners, I hope they listen to this all the way through versus, skipping. And so I hope they listen to the whole thing. How would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to talk about this? Would you mind giving out your information?
Yeah, absolutely. You can shoot me a text or leave me a voice message at 253-324-5639. That's my cell number. If I'm busy, I'll get back to you. I always do. But let me know who you are, what you're wanting to do. I get a lot of sales calls that I ignore. So
Well, that would be the only thing. I didn't know if you might have them work through your executive assistant or whatever. That might be a better way for you.
yeah, I wish I had one at this point. I'm working on it.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, they can get a hold of me and I'll get a hold of you. How about that?
There you go. I'm always willing to talk to anybody. I'll give you the philosophy that I live my life off of, right? And it hasn't always been this way. I've had to learn to be this way because at one point I was a punk kid, just like all the punk kids out there are, right?
Really?
The
You
more you
were?
give,
Were you
well,
really? Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. I'm 40 years old, but I'm still a kid. I'm just not a punk kid no more. I'll be a kid till the day I die. The more you give, the more you get. It's that darn simple.
That is right. That is so true.
Doesn't matter how much you want. If you're not willing to give it, you ain't ever going to get it.
Richard, I want you to know I've really enjoyed this, and I thank you very much for your time today. And we'll get the word out. Let's start getting the word out.
I appreciate it too.
Okay,
Let's do it. Let's change this country.
let's do.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to Transforming the Trades. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights and tips for your trade business. If you found this podcast helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to check out our website where you can find additional resources and information to help you grow your business. Until next time, keep innovating and take charge of your success.